All right, well, I think we can go ahead and get started here. So what I want to start off with is just a quick video, and then I'm going to have Matt kind of talk a little bit, kind of introduce everybody, and then we'll jump right into the presentation. So let's get started just with a really quick little intro video here for you guys. Again, just a really quick intro there because I wanted you guys to start up with some visuals. Matt, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you here. Matt is our inkjet lead. He's been a part of the inkjet team here for over 10, 15 years now, so definitely well-versed in the industry. Matt, you want to kind of take it away and say a few things?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So this is going to be all about solvent, and we've got we're an Epson solvent dealer, strictly printer-wise. And over the course of the year, we've gained a lot of traction in that area as far as being dealers for different types of solvent media, including Ultraflex, Avery, and a few other manufacturers that make that. So we've got a whole diverse selection of media in that choice there, as far as any type of application you can think when you're running on the solvent printer. So this is kind of a getting idea of those types of media that you can use out there. Some of this is, maybe if you're looking to maybe jump into the solvent game, especially with a lot of the COVID stuff going on lately, where signage is a very essential, even more important need out there, as far as floor graphics and banners to sticker decals, all this stuff to put out safe social distance messages, and solvent is a really key player when it comes to that. So ideas there, trying to get a good idea what these printers can do, all the applications, maybe your costs as far as breakdown, and then if you do own a solvent printer, trying to see if we can answer any questions that you might have, or maybe just kind of open the door of what we can do to you as a a reseller for this product.
Excellent. Yeah, couldn't say that better myself. So I think I know a couple of you guys, this might not be brand new to you. A couple of you guys, it is new. So we're just going to start at the very basics, and then we'll kind of work our way up. And of course, as questions pop up, we'll answer everything at the end. So throw those questions in the chat box, and we'll tackle those. So let's start with step one, kind of an overview of what we're talking about today. What is solvent? What's a solvent media, or what's a solvent ink? What makes solvent solvent? Of course, we're talking about the Epson S series here. So I'll show you a few of the different options that are out there. Speed, ink set, Pantone matching, bulk systems, all that kind of fun stuff. Of course, media options, because we get these printers because of their versatility. So we'll talk about a few things that we have here for you guys, and maybe a few things that kind of get some ideas rolling. Then of course, like I said, we'll open it up for a Q&A. So first, let's kind of talk a little bit about solvent. I know Kevin before was telling me he was kind of coming from the inkjet world. So, you guys might be familiar with like aqueous inks, maybe like in a P series, like a photo printer. Now, what a solvent is going to do is basically, without getting too in depth, it's a carrier that holds a pigment. And so with the solvent, we're going to introduce what they call off-gassing time. Some of you might have heard this term before. And basically what it is the time for that to evaporate, so it leaves just behind that ink that we need. And it is extremely, extremely durable. So if we need something that's going to stand, direct sunlight, maybe outdoors, maybe on a vehicle for a car wrap, as Matt was saying before, maybe decals for some of these storefronts, that is going to be where solvent really stands the test of time. We can go a step further, and we'll talk a little about this down the road, but to really, really protect your image long term, lamination is a great thing to add to your solvent printing. And what that can do is actually basically put that laminate over top of it and increase that longevity even further. One thing I want to put in here and just kind of really let you guys know what we're working with is what Epson calls, what they call out their eco-solvent. So Epson is working with these eco-solvent inks, which are a little bit less volatile. They're definitely less of a smell that comes off of them, and you don't have to work in before where you might have to have a vent hood, a few masks and everything like that on hand. No worries on that one anymore. The nice thing about that is it is Epson's own created set, ink set. It's called the Ultra Chrome GS3 ink set. So you can see here we can go all the way up to 10 colors. or 8, I should say, with the metallic, or you can add a white, or you can use a cleaning cartridge in place of that. And from there, you know, we can have a 98, I believe, % Pantone match, which is just incredible on like one of the S80 printers there. I do like to mention that this has been Green Guard Gold certified. So again, that comes back down to the volatile chemicals. So, you know, if you're working or if you have someone who might be sensitive to certain chemicals, you know, this has been tested. And so we know that the volatile chemicals in there are safe. You know, I wouldn't recommend drinking any of the ink, but that being said, you know, working off of it on a daily basis is not going to be anything to worry about. And last but not least, one of Epson's big things here with their solvent is the reduced off-gas time. So in traditional solvent printing, it might take over 24 hours for that off-gas to finish before we can actually add lamination to it. But with this, we're looking at about an 8-hour 6 to 8 hour time gap there. And so technically you can actually laminate same day, which is a huge thing for any of these companies that have to have immediate turnaround. So definitely a lot of positives with the solvent side of things. Now let's go ahead and we'll talk about a little bit of the lineup. So Epson's kind of offerings in the solvent world. So there's a few different configurations, and they've just added a few more to it. So a bulk system is kind of in order now. But what I want to talk about here is the entry level. This is the SureColor S4600. So still 64-inch, like all of their offerings are. Now this is going to work with just your good old-fashioned CMYK inks, which, as you can see here, we can hit some amazing colors with CMYK. So don't think that you're so limited that you're never going to get those jobs. You know, I will say if you start dealing with companies like Coca-Cola, Home Depot, the big players like that, that's when we usually start looking into the S80 to make sure we can hit those particular Pantone colors there. Now the next step would be the S6600. So what I'm showing you guys here is the 6600, which is a dual print head with 2 CMYKs. So basically we're doubling the speed of the S40. Now what this is here is a print and cut bundle. So it's bundled with the new graph tech. This is the FC9000, which they just came out with. Definitely a strong, robust build. This one actually has a barcode reader built in. So if you are doing heavy volume or heavy production jobs, you know, I can actually set that up and just let my cutter run, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 jobs, whatever I need to, by reading that barcode rather than having to run back to the computer and hit, you know, new job every time. Oh, actually, I should go back real quick and let you guys know too, on the 60, since it is such an incredibly fast print, they actually have an additional drying element here too. So there's 3 heating elements in the platen of the machine, and then there's an additional dryer to really help reduce that, especially if you're in like, you know, 2-pass, 4-pass production modes. Of course, the flagship bad boy, you know, I can't say enough good things about this guy. This is the S8600. Now, this is the L version, and the L basically signifies it's a bulk system. So with the bulk system, we really are getting a very nice cost savings long term on our inks there. So we're actually going to get 1,500 milliliters in these bags. They're going to last you a lot longer. We're not worrying about collecting all those plastic cartridges anymore, and just overall a more efficient way to consume ink there. Now, with this S8600, and depending on the machines that you get, it will come with a version of Onyx, either Gamma Print or Thrive, depending on which version of the printers you're buying. And what that's going to allow you to do is really right off the bat, have profiles built in, have everything that you guys will need to kind of get started. So don't worry about having to, you know, really sit there and dial in those colors. Off the bat, a lot of the major manufacturers have already partnered together, and we actually have those ICCs. They call them EMX profiles, but we'll deal with that here in a minute. And of course, I have to put at the end here that we can hit the Pantone. So, I mean, pretty impressive for a solvent unit like this. You know, that red and that orange really does make a huge difference. We have a pretty cool, it's a Corvette poster print here, and you can just see where those reds really take off. I know Matt and I were doing some testing not too long ago, and we printed a red swatch off of both the S40 and the S80, and you know, hardly discernible to the eye on the S40, but as soon as you printed the same reds on the S80, you could really see the differences in there, and so could the client. So if that is something that you're needing to hit really particular colors, the S80 is an absolutely fantastic choice there. So back to the ink set real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on this since we talked about it. But what I really want to talk about is the addition of the metallic silver or the white cartridge. So hopefully you can see over here, and this is the S8600 ink set. So and here we actually have a choice between a white or a metallic silver. Now, the thing about this is if I'm working with maybe some dark media or maybe some transparent media, it's always nice to be able to lay that white base down before we add our color over top of it, or if we just want to keep that classy look and keep the white on it. That will allow us to have an additional pop, especially on medias that, like I said, were either dark or transparent. A huge helping feature for that. The metallic silver is just a cool addition, something to kind of help you stand out from the crowd. I will say the metallic silver and white, without lamination, will, the longevity is not there compared to the rest of the inks, but with a little bit of lamination, those can go a long way. And of course, if you don't need either of those, you can keep it maintenance free by leaving a cleaning cartridge in there instead. So that way, when the time does come and a client needs it, all you have to do is swap those cartridges out and we're good to go. And of course, same day lamination. Let's go over the printhead real quick. And I know we're diving into like the mechanics of it, but I want to start there so you have a good base. So that way when we dive into the more fun stuff, you kind of have an idea how everything's operating properly. So obviously it's Epson. So we got to talk about the printhead technology. An Epson precision dot. So if you're familiar with that, basically it's those micro dots that they put down that actually create a full image or create certain colors that we need. You can see the resolution is impeccable at 1440. And remember, guys, with the solvent, it's not like we're working with like a gallery where we're going to have someone getting up close and personal, really, really dissecting it. So 1440 is going to be more than fine, especially if you're considering most people are viewing these at least 5, 10 plus feet away. Of course, on the speed, going back to the S6600 with the dual print heads in there, we can achieve some pretty impressive speeds, 550 square feet an hour, you can see. And of course, one of the biggest things that I always get questions about is the maintenance side of things. So with this fabric wiper that they have included in there now, and this is a consumable part that you will need to replace every now and again. And so what this does is when the print head reseats, actually it will wipe that print head off for us. And basically it's going to keep everything primed. So the only thing I do as far as manual maintenance goes, every about 2 weeks, I will get in there with my cleaner, and I have a cleaning solution that will come with the printer as well. And it takes about 5 minutes, and I'll just wipe that print head down manually, clean it off, make sure there's no residue behind, and then we're good to go. So I do want to kind of really, really drive that home that, it's not the maintenance of yesterday, when we really had to run cleaning cartridges, make sure every day the print head's clean. A lot of this has been self-contained for us now, and this fabric wiper is a great addition for that. So I think we talked about enough of the printer side real quick. So let's jump in a little bit into some of the use cases. I know this might not be new to some of you, but I do just want to kind of get some ideas going out there. So of course you see vinyl. I know right now the most popular thing pretty much everywhere you walk into has some kind of floor graphic, letting you know to stand 6 feet apart. Print and cut is a really popular option too. The stickers, decals. If you have anything, you either Illustrator, you can create these cut lines with Cut Master as well, but basically if you create a spot color with an outline, you can do any kind of die cut you needed with these Graphtec cutters that can be bundled with these printers. Banner production, of course, very huge thing when it comes to marketing, signage. Here we see something in the airport, but banner production is very, I don't want to call it simple, but it's definitely not a very difficult process. Once we have those colors dialed in, we print it. You can add your grommet marks, you can add a hem, whatever you need to. Of course, one of the most popular things here I say with these printers are the wraps. So this is a company called Skins Wraps. So they actually did a really good job on this particular bus here. We recommend the Avery 1105, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Of course, canvas prints. A lot of people don't realize you can do canvas, poster, and backlit displays, on these machines. Actually, Epson makes a really good both canvas, backlit, and poster printing for it. So if it's, let's just say maybe the wrap market might be drying up, no reason not to convert over to maybe some canvas or fine art printing, especially if it's something maybe in outdoors or something in an area with heavy traffic that needs to hold up the test of time there. And of course, I just want to throw these up there, and there's plenty of options out there, but just to kind of get some things going, Avery Dennison makes an incredibly very, very high-end canvas. Can be great for wraps. They've got their MPI 3000, can be good for decals and stickers. Like I was saying here, Epson has some offerings. So if you guys have any questions about media, that's something we always like to talk one-on-one about, and we can find some solutions for you too, especially if you need something like maybe magnets or something of that nature. Let's go, since we're on the media kick right now, I do want to kind of talk about one of the really, really cool things that Epson does do and bundles with their printers here. So this is called the Epson Edge Dashboard. Hopefully you can kind of see it here. And the Epson Edge Dashboard, you'll download that when you download your drivers for the printer. What this is going to contain, or what they call EMX profiles. So what these EMX profiles are, is it's going to say, okay, I know what media type you're using. Okay, let's adjust that platen gap for you. Let's adjust the heating temperature of the elements. Let's adjust the dry time, plenty of other parameters that are automatically set for us when we download that. Let me show you this too. So here it is blown up. You can see from my computer, I actually have the option to see what media is currently in there, the size of the media, if I have my heaters running, you know, basic steps, even my IP address. So this is a really good way to kind of just get an indicator of what's going on with the printer from the computer. Now, on that same token, there is what they call the media settings. And with these media settings, again, these EMX profiles are more than just color profiles. What they're going to do are actually convert everything properly for that media type that you're working with. And I will show you guys. Here's a quick just kind of example of the media settings. So, and this is just a small offering of what they have, but with the media vendors, 3M, Ultraflex, Avery, you know, they've got everything under the sun, Oraful, and these have already been profiled. So this are professional profiles done that are ready for you. Basically, you just double click it, you download it, and you send that profile over to your printer. One of the cool things about the software it's bundled with is that when it's in the printer and you go into Onyx, Onyx will say, oh, I see there's a new profile imported. And so it will automatically import that into the software as well. So everything is talking to each other right off the bat. As a matter of fact, we will actually tie the Onyx software to this Epson Edge dashboard so it knows kind of where to grab from and talk to. The Epson rewards, since we have it here, I do want to kind of mention that. You know, again, it's one of those things where volume is really the biggest determining factor. So, you know, if you're using Epson Genuine Media or if you're using Epson Genuine Inks, which we definitely recommend, you know, each time you have those, you'll have a little scratch off that you can take care of, and then you'll input that code, and then towards the end, you know, that'll give you things like, you know, 10, 50% off of a warranty, or maybe if you're looking to upgrade printers, it might give you a little bit of an incentive there. So a couple cool things, especially if you're a heavy user. Those are always great to take advantage of. Since we are talking about the Onyx Strip software that comes with it, and I'm going to show you guys a little video once this is over here. We'll actually show it in action, the printer and the software. But I just want to kind of give you a little overview. Gamma Print is what most of these will ship with. Gamma Print, it's kind of the, I'm going to call it the starter version of Onyx. It's definitely powerful. It can do everything we need it to do. What Gamma Print offers is basically a layout tool, a way that we can import our profiles, and just a few basics to kind of get us going. Whereas Thrive would be the next step up, or actually there's Poster Shop, but Thrive is kind of their top tier, I should say. And what Thrive is going to offer you is what they call a job editor. And so I want to show you this job editor real quick. So it'll give us things such as, you know, medias, printers, if we need to add patterns. I can do certain spot color correction within here. I can also add things like grommet marks, finishing marks. If I'm doing a canvas wrap, I can put some wrap marks in there as well. And these all will come with the profiles that you basically need, the basic profiles, I should say. You know, when we start bringing in third-party media, sometimes we have to do a little bit of profiling ourselves, which is not a problem. We can always help you guys out with that. And like I said here, Cut Server is going to be built in with all these. So if you want to attach any kind of cutter, GraphTech is what we recommend here, but any cutter, any major cutter, I should say, will actually talk directly to Onyx. So you'll be able to do a print cut solution right there. And then, of course, the cost analysis. So at the end of the day, this is a business, so we do need to make sure that we are, you know, pricing our stuff accordingly. One of the cool things that this has is what they call the LFP accounting tool. And I'll show you that here real quick. So I don't know if, I know it was kind of quick in that first video, but those dragons that we were cutting out, those little stickers, this is kind of the detailed job info from that. So you can see the media type we were using. I've already input the cost of media and ink. So at the end, it'll go said, okay, I see you use this many square feet of the media, you use this many milliliters of ink, and so here's your final cost. So you can see, I mean, for $1.71, if I remember correctly, it was about, I got maybe 6 to 8 stickers out of that. Those were large stickers too. So, you know, you can see your profit margins right off the bat. And if you want to take that a step further, Onyx, even though it will not come with this, Onyx Hub 2.0 is an upgradable feature that will actually give you even more controls over your business. So if you want to add things like labor costs, you know, things of that nature, Onyx Hub is an upgrade that can really give you an incredible analysis, a deep analysis, I should say, of your printing operations there. And of course, the cartridge versus the bulk systems, again, I do want to come back to this. The cartridge systems are a little bit less expensive up front. However, your long-term costs for those inks definitely increase versus the bulk system, a little bit more expensive up front. But once you get past about that first, maybe 6 months, depending on your volume there, you know, you're back to making a lot, or spending a lot less, I should say, on your ink there. And of course, that also means less time having to, you know, order, be down if you're not prepared for it too. So those 1,500 milliliter bags can really go a long way, as you can imagine. And I did put bulk media in here too. So, if your volume does pick up, we have a large warehouse in the back. So we're more than happy to store maybe some particulars that you use on a regular basis if that's needed. So definitely, if it's anything like that, give us a call and we'll do a one-on-one conversation and get everything together for you. So with that being said, I do want to show one video. And Kevin, I did see you have a quick question there, and I'll go ahead and answer this right now, but we can talk more afterwards. Kevin has a great question. What's the lifetime with and without lamination? And how is lamination applied? Fantastic question. And we actually are going to do probably another webinar on some more of the finishing side when it comes to solvent printing. What I'll say, lifetime with and without. Now, you're probably looking at about 2 to 3 years without, and you're probably going to extend that to 5+ with. Now, a lot of that depends on, is it going to be put to the ringer? Is this going to be going on a construction vehicle? Is this going to just be a canvas that hangs kind of in the interior? So don't think you have to laminate every single time, but I will say, especially if you're dealing with things like car wraps, something that's going to be, boat wraps, things of that nature, lamination will be absolutely key. And lamination is actually a lamination system, Kevin, that you kind of run this through. So when your media comes out, you kind of apply it edge to edge, you run it through almost, without simplifying it too much, really just like you would imagine with, maybe some of those laminators from like the school days where you're kind of laminating a card or just, some stock paper there. And basically it's that on a large scale with heat applied. So we can absolutely get into that later, but I do want to show you guys just real quick. Here's a little video of kind of the S40 in action.
Hey, Zach with Imaging Spectrum here. Just want to give you a quick rundown on the Epson SureColor S4600. It's Epson's 64-inch eco solvent unit, 4 colors CMYK, cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. And also a couple heating elements in here as well to reduce the off-gas time from the typical 24 hours to a little bit closer to that 8-hour time frame. So what I figure we're going to do today is we'll go over basics of how to load the media, some of the basic settings inside of the printer itself, the basic maintenance, and then some of the software as well, so you can kind of get an idea of how easy it really is to run this machine. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First, we'll focus on loading the media. This is a back load, so what we're going to do is actually pull the unit out. Give us a little easier access to the back here. So first, to load the media, I'm going to release the pressure rollers. One thing to note are the 2 media guides in the front of the printer here. So with the front lifted up, hopefully you can see these guides. So these will actually be different depending on the media you're using and the width of the media. So in this case, since we're using a 54, I'm going to go ahead and move that over a little bit to the left, and then my right one over to the right so we don't catch on those as I'm loading the media. From the back, we're going to go ahead and load our media. I'm using the Avery Dennison 1105 today, some really good cast vinyl, especially for car wraps and the like. So what I'm going to do is make sure that this is secured. I'm actually going to push this blue plate until it's flush with the black portion here. And since our pressure rollers are unlocked, I will be able to actually slide this media directly into it. Once you can tell it's partially the way through, we're actually going to go ahead and lock the lever down. This will hold those pressure rollers and hold the media in place. And from here, we're just going to use these media guides to make sure nothing moves. Now with our media loaded, we will focus on the media settings in the printer. These are ones that I have previously downloaded from the Epson Edge dashboard, which we'll go over shortly. So what I'm going to do is select the 1105 that I currently have in here. So I'll scroll down. With that selected, I'll let it know it's printable side out, which means it's going to go over rather than under. And then we'll let it know the length of the media currently. One thing I definitely want to focus on is the Epson Edge dashboard, which will be installed with the drivers as well. So the nice thing about this is it allows us to actually control the parameters of the printer through our software as well. This is actually a browser-based solution here. So what you see is we have our heating temperatures, our media settings, width. Now here's the really exciting thing, is under the media settings, under this cloud option, we actually have tons of vendors, majority of the top players out there already pre-profiled for us. So what I'll do in this case is select the Avery Dennison, assuming we didn't already have our profile downloaded. We can search for any of the Avery Dennison profiles that have already been created. And from here, we're going to go ahead and select our MPI 1105. Now, I do already have my acquisition complete, so if it said not acquired, all I would have to do is hit the download button here. It'll finish, and then when we close it, it'll actually show up in our local media library section here. Now, the really cool thing about this is without having to sit there and profile everything ourselves, we can immediately be ready to print in a moment's notice. So here we are in Onyx. It's a fairly simple program to use. It's one of those pieces of software that can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. So for today, we're going to focus on the simplicity. So what I'm going to do is open a file. Today we're going to grab one of these sticker files, which is actually a print and cut. So this one is particularly a PDF, and what it actually has in there are spot colors that have been defined in Illustrator. Very easy to do, but that way you have your file prepped for when you bring it into Onyx. As you can see, it's ripping, so we can see our processing up here. What it's going to do is analyze it for any colors or any cut marks. So from there, you can see it's waiting to print. I already have our job ready to roll here. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and hit the print now, and we're ready for action. So now with our information saved properly in Onyx, we will print now, and that'll send that information straight to the printer. Now one of the cool things is since this does have a cut server built into it, what it will do is actually put registration marks and arrows to denote where and how to put the media into the GraphTech cutter. So we'll let the printer do its thing. I'm actually going to skip the warm-up phase in this regard. Basically what the warm-up is doing is getting the platens heated up so that way when you start production, you can just keep running and gunning. Hopefully you can see it's laying a barcode down plus the arrow lines, and then to the left, right corners, it will actually lay down registration marks as well. That'll tell the GraphTech cutter where to grab from so that the orientation will stay proper. From Onyx, after you finish your print, it will actually immediately upload to the cut server, which I will open here. So now any information we send will actually show up in our cut server. From here, we can denote what we want. Perforated cuts, through cuts, kiss cuts. So you can see I already have mine labeled. So we'll do a perf cut and a kiss cut. And that's actually the information that will be sent directly to the GraphTech cutter there. One thing to mention on this print is that we are at 8 pass. So dependent on the graphic or the image, you can adjust between a low resolution 2-pass mode all the way up to 16 passes. Now, for majority of graphics and logos, you can probably get away with a 4, 6, or 8. Now, if you're doing any kind of fine art or if you have any kind of high-end graphics with a lot of gradients, then that could be a good reason to jump up to the 12 or 16 passes as well. Now that our print is complete, we will focus on the GraphTech. What I will do is make sure that the arrows are facing us. I will release my pressure rollers. Now what I like to do is I will take my 2 marks, my registration marks, and I will line them up so that they're inside of the rollers and so that they are even, and I can feel a little bit of an indentation in between them, so that's how I know I'm in a good spot there. Click there. We'll go ahead and lock those pressure rollers. We'll let the machine go ahead and detect the size and the width of the media, and from there what we'll do is we'll go back to our Onyx software and we'll send the information directly to the cutter. Perfect, ready to go. Within Cut Server, we'll go ahead and select the cut now. I'm going to do a perforated and a kiss cut, so we'll click that, and that information will be sent directly to our GraphTech. And as simple as that, we will go ahead and take our weeding tool, grab our corner, and our decals are ready for removal and application. Now, I know that was a really quick crash course, but it really is as simple as that to set up a proper file. So one last thing I want to mention before we go here is just the basic maintenance. Now, one of the really nice things about this machine is it does a lot of its maintenance itself. Now, occasionally, about every 2 to 3 weeks, what I'll do is a manual head cleaning, and we'll go over that just real briefly. Now, while the maintenance is mostly self-contained in this unit, there are 2 things that we want to do to ensure best print quality. One is a nozzle check at least once a week. Now, what a nozzle check is going to do is just fire ink through the printhead. So if it's a slow week, maybe just on a Friday or a Monday, at least run 1 nozzle check a week, and that will always keep your printhead primed. Very simple, maintenance button, nozzle check, and then you can print at either the right, center, or left of the media you're using so that you can conserve. Now, the other side is what they call the head maintenance. Very simple as well. Instead of the nozzle check, we will go down to the head maintenance. Now, what this is going to do is actually move the printhead from one location to the other side so that we can actually manually wipe it ourselves. So let's run through that really quickly. So what this will do is move the printhead from the right side of the printer to the left side of the printer so that we actually have access to it. Now, with the printhead on the left side of the printer, we can open and take one of our lint-free swabs that the printer comes with. Underneath, we'll just wipe any areas where excess ink has collected. And of course, if you ever forget which areas to clean, Epson has done a great job of kind of reminding you here. So hopefully, as you can see, now on the right side of the printer, we have the same areas to clean. So as you can see, the same indicators. I do briefly want to mention the wiper head on the left side here. So every time the print head reseats, it will actually wipe off that print head for you, which is going to definitely increase the longevity of your print head. Now last but not least, we'll wipe in the cap head area if there's any excess ink. From there, we will close the unit, hit the OK button, and we're back to printing. Now, I know that was a quick crash course, but that really is the basics of the unit. So if you do have any more questions, do not hesitate to reach out and ask, and we can go more in depth into anything you like. Thanks.
But I think at this point, hopefully that was at least a little bit of something to kind of get you everything going there. So I do want to open it up for a Q&A. If there's any questions that you guys may have regarding these machines. And like Vincent said, nothing truly does beat the quality and, seeing it real time. If you ever do need to see any prints, we're more than happy to do a print for you. On that note, no joking matter, if there is something that we can bundle together for you, the more that we can put on something, usually the better deal that we can kind of make for you too. And we do always have demo units. Just to kind of give you guys a quick rundown on the standard prices there, we're starting at about $10,000 for the S4600, the entry level, and we're probably getting around the 18 range for the S8600. Now, the bulks are a little bit more expensive, so depending on what you want to go with that, we can definitely help you find something that's perfect for you. And of course, same with media. If you, need certain bulk media, again, the more that you can put on, if we can get a pallet for you or something like that, we can always extend those cost savings to the consumer as well. So, all right, guys, I'm not seeing any other questions come through. Matt, did you have anything you wanted to close with?
Yeah, just the main thing is, if it's something like Kevin or and a couple other folks online, if this is something you've always kind of looked at and maybe thought, what a solvent printer can do, the S4600 from Epson, I mean, it starts pretty cheap. It's under, it's about under $10,000, and so it's not really that crazy of a startup for a solvent printer of this magnitude and all that can do. You are more cost efficient when you're running this machine. So, if you are running into more signage needs out there, this is definitely, a printer for you, but you can do canvas and photo and all that other stuff as well. So we're open here for demos. If there's anything that you do want to come in and take a look at it, just kind of give an idea what, in person, what it looks like. And we follow all the safety guidelines, of course, when we do demos here. Just let us know. We can schedule that. And really, we're open to any questions that you might have on it. You just let us know, and we can definitely point you in the right direction.
All right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and conclude that and I want to say thank you again for everyone who attended. And, definitely please do reach out if you have any more questions on any of the nitty gritty stuff. And thanks again for joining us. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Later, guys.